Alright, so they're talking about it. Oh, they got the hey, here's the man. Hey.
Well, that's why it's just like I had no excuse not to come.
Hey, good to see you again. Great, thanks for coming out.
Tommy Boyd, first time meeting you. Tom and Boyd, just think of the real one. Hudson. No, it's specific.
Thanks for coming out.
Good job on the radio.
Hour and a half.
Nice to see you. Good to see you as well.
Yeah.
Glad you made it. Have a good night tonight.
Thanks for doing this.
Absolutely.
Great. Where are you from, Ron? Ipswich. Oh, wow. That's
Chris came a long way.
Wow. My wife and I went to Crane's Beach for the first time this summer. Beautiful. Very good.
Chris Manley?
Very good. Nice to meet you, Chris. Where are you from? Groton. Great. Thanks for your service.
Well, retired 20 years ago.
Well, hey. Yeah.
These guys.
We got a few of those old times. Every year the fans will find more for us. Earl. This is Earl York City.
Where are you from? Your hate? One week? We went to the gun store down below. Yep. That's great. You finally got endorsed today. Finally.
Glenn Mason, you can't have his vote because he's at Glenn. He's out of Connecticut, so he came from Connecticut. He came from Connecticut to you. Robin Rayoux.
I was down in Fall River today. We were down in Westport.
Down at Westport line. It's Vision Road. Like Horseneck Beach.
This is Lorna Cook. Another one. You can't have her vote, but you definitely got her support. She's a Rhode Islander. She's a Rhode Islander.
Whereabouts in Rhode Island? One more breakdown.
She won't allow it for you.
An hour and a half.
And you can't even vote for me.
I have friends in Mass, so they'll have to vote for me.
Let them know.
The big man in the corner there, that's her husband, Jay. He's also from Rhode Island.
James.
Jay.
Jay, very good.
If he was in Mass, he'd count as 3 votes.
Very good. Thanks for coming up to this.
That's my wife, Kathy.
Kathy, very nice to meet you.
John Rayoux. John, he's a Mass voter.
Where are you from, John?
Right on the west coast.
Ken Vieira.
I'm sorry, I missed the name. Ken Vieira. Very good. Where are you from, Ken? Westport, Dartmouth.
The gentleman with the camera, I'm sure you already know. Mark, come here.
Yes, sir.
Mark Lundstrom,
Hey, Mark.
another Mass voter supporter.
What's my name? Mark with a C or Mark with a K? Hey, there you go.
This is where Mark gets all his conviction and from. This is his father, Donald.
From Oxford? From Oxford as well? No, Worcester. Worcester. Okay, there we go. Thanks for coming out.
He's another veteran. You can't have his vote, but you got to support us from Connecticut. This is Connecticut formal. And what you stand for, he stands for. That's the one you have.
Nice to meet you.
Mickey.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
How would you support guys in your own state? Coming up there for me, right? I mean, it's just
If New England wanted to support you and we do well, then we go down and we support them together as a group. We're all glad New England.
Massachusetts is a big domino.
Rich, come
there
here.
you go, exactly.
Tom, come here.
That was filthy.
Rich Court, Mark Fisher.
Hi, Rich. Nice to meet you. Where are you from? Lynn.
Big support. Tom, this gentleman right here, you can't have his vote, but we definitely have support.
Where are you from? Out of state? Rhode Island. Rhode Island.
Tom's a big man, works in PA, does a lot of veterans, goes all around. Everybody, if you ask this guy's name, whether it's Mass, New Hampshire, he won't fucking see the point. This is the Stump pool right there.
Thank you.
We're trying to support you, Father. And thank you with
Spread the word, yeah. Great.
These are the names I know. Everyone else you have to figure out.
You got them all, pretty much all of them. There's a few people over here. Well, a few people with my shirt on.
Those I don't know, so introduce yourself.
You want to do me a favor? I'm gonna see if we can.
Can we get everyone to grab a seat? Thank you. You stand here, look at the mic.
Be like that?
Yeah.
All right, good night, everybody. I mean, good morning, everybody. Good afternoon. See, I always get messed up because I'm on the air overnight. I'm John Weston from Right Overnight Radio. Thanks, everybody, for coming tonight. We really appreciate it. Obviously, the reason we're all here is to talk to Mark Fisher and Mark Fisher to talk to us. But before we get going, and I introduce the sponsor for tonight, I just want to mention about this particular question on the ballot. There's an awful lot of confusion about what's going on with this particular question. This is not to reverse the 3-cent increase in the gas tax. This is the reverse of the self-perpetuation of this tax. Now think about what that means. That means that every time the cost of living goes up in any way, shape, or form, it raises the tax on gas. So if you add more cents in tax, it's higher at the gas pump, which raises the prices of things, which raises the tax, which raises the price of gas, which raises the tax, which raises the price of gas. Do you get what I'm saying? Okay. The precedent is being tested because of our Governor Mini-Me, and where this is coming from, this whole idea, was because the guy in the White House wanted to find out if this would work in Massachusetts. Because there's already 3 bills in Congress with self-perpetuation tied to the rate of inflation that aren't just sitting in committee. Nobody knows about. Okay? They're already talking about linking registry prices, sales tax, and a whole bunch of other fees and taxes to this. And I guarantee you that if it happens in Mass and we don't stop it, it'll happen in Rhode Island, it'll happen in Connecticut, etc., etc., etc. And then you'll see it show up in the federal government. So this is the reason that you need to stop the gas tax. It's not the 3 cents. And oh, by the way, this nonsense that we, if you reverse this thing, we won't fix the roads. It's federal money fixing the roads. So it's coming out of this wallet adverse to this wallet. So don't let them con you and don't let them tell you stories. I just wanted to be clear. If anybody has any questions, ask myself. One of my regular participants in my show, Chuck Kunowicz, is here. Chuck's running around with a blue golf shirt on. I'm not quite sure where he is, but he's here. We can tell you about it if you want to know more. But anyway, first of all, thank you everybody for coming tonight. We're very glad Mark Fisher is here this evening. And I want to introduce Carmelo, who is, I guess, the spokesperson. Does that sound right? He's doing a good job, by the way. Let's give him a nice round of applause.
It all depends on who you ask.
No, he's doing a great job.
Thank you, John. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone, for coming out tonight. It's really great to see so many people here to support Mark Fisher and support conservative values in the state of Massachusetts. And I want to speak on behalf of New England Freedom Riders. Again, my name is Carmelo Lasciotto. I am one of the spokespeople for the New England Freedom Riders, one of many. And we are a conservative activist biker group out of the New England area. We cover Massachusetts, Connecticut, Rhode Island, Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, and some other part of Massachusetts, of New England I may have forgotten because I've had one or too many beers already. So hopefully I'll remember before the morning comes. But I digress. The point of this evening tonight is to talk about our support for Mark Fisher for governor of the state of Massachusetts. Absolutely. The New England Freedom Freedom Riders is actually, we have close to 1,000 members online, and we're fairly picky about who we try to get behind and what causes we try to be part of. And when we heard Mark Fisher speak, various individuals in our organization heard him speak at various events. We saw his debate against Rhino Charlie online, and how he kicked Charlie's behind. And we said, here's a guy we think we can get behind. And then some of us met with Mark, and we really got to understand his platform, his values, the conservative bridge that his words bring between what we believe in as true conservatism, and what we believe our government should and should not be. And we think Mark does a pretty good job of bridging that gap. And because of that, we want to support him and throw our support behind him, and we're going to urge everyone to do so as well. So without further ado, I've already had more than my fill of drink. I'm going to pass this microphone along to the next governor of the great state of Massachusetts, Mr. Mark Fisher.
Well, thank you, Carmelo, and thank you, John, for putting this all together, and thank you, Freedom Riders and other great supporters, for coming out tonight. Very busy day today. I don't know if you heard me on Jeff Cooner's show, hour and a half long on Jeff Cooner's show this morning in Boston, and then I went down to Fall River for an event down there, back to work in Auburn, and out here to Hudson. So very busy day, very good day actually, except for one thing. On my way over here, they had just released the results of a poll that had been taken, CNN poll that showed Barack Obama as the 5th best president of all time. 5th best president of all time. They rated George Washington #1, no surprise there. But there was a tie for second place, Abraham Lincoln and Ronald Reagan. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that. In third place, there were 39 presidents tied for third place.
We know where this is going.
There was only one president in fourth place. That was Jimmy Carter. And in fifth place was Barack Obama. I thought that was pretty funny. A little bit about me personally, and then a little bit about this election cycle and what's involved with it. For those of you who don't know, I grew up in Westfield, Mass. It's exit 3 on the Turnpike out near Springfield. And my dad went to trade school, and my mom and most of her sisters just went to elementary school back in the 1930s. She tells me this funny story that her mom, my grandmother, when the truancy officer came around, they hid my mom in the closet so they wouldn't know that she was missing school. But she only went to elementary school. So when I graduated from high school, college was not a big thing. I wasn't pushed into college, and I didn't go. I joined a union shop, Old Colony Envelope Company, out in Westfield, and rolled up my sleeves and learned the value of a buck. And the people that I met there taught me that hard work and determination can more than make up for the lack of a college education. And these blue-collar workers were making it. They were raising their families, paying their bills. They could afford a rent or a mortgage, and they were saving for the future. It was working for them. It had worked for my mom. It had worked for my dad. And so I had to make a decision. Did I want to follow down that path, or did I want to do something different? And I think this is part of the great joy in life. We find out what gifts and what talents we have, what we like to do, what we do best, and then we step forward and we test the waters. This is our pursuit of happiness, not a government-imposed happiness. And so I did that. I tested the waters. I went to college, a 2-year community college, and when I graduated, I transferred to WPI, Worcester Polytech here, just down the road, and I ended up getting graduate degrees in engineering and in management. And then I worked as an engineer in Massachusetts. I've been out of work a number of times, and 4 of my previous employers have closed their doors and not shut down. They've closed their doors and moved out of state because it was easier for them to do business out of state. The last time I was out of work 5 years ago, last August, 5 years ago, this August I should say, I bought a small business, took a lien on my home, bought a small business, and it has done well enough to give me the opportunity to do more than just vote and complain, which has been my political involvement up to this point in time. Probably like you guys, I don't like the slate of candidates that are put before us to try to earn our vote. And I am tired of holding my nose in voting for someone I don't like or voting for the lesser of two evils. So that's why I'm running. That's why I'm running. Why am I running for governor? I've never run for office before. People have said, why don't you run for a lower office? And I would, if I wanted a political career. I don't want a political career. I want to run as a conservative in Massachusetts and show people that's how you win in Massachusetts, running as a conservative against all the problems that the Democrats have created. I run and I win for one term or two and I pass the baton to another conservative. I don't want a political career. If I were to win on a state rep or a school committee level, it won't have the same impact as running on a level of governorship. So that's why I'm running at this level, 1 or 2 terms, and that's it. In this particular election, there are a lot of issues. We'll talk about a few of them tonight. By the way, if you haven't been there, my website, markfisher2014.com, there is a list of 14 or 15 issues, what they are, my proposed solutions for them. Very clear, very concise, very conservative. If we don't hit them today, go to that website and it's all there, or just let us know. I've got them here. Thank you.
Make that up anyway.
Thank you. So all these issues, I think they stem from one main issue, and that's this. Do we fight for a smaller government and individual freedom, or do we allow big government to get bigger and bigger, get more intrusive, and take over more and more of our lives? And this idea of smaller government and individual freedom are fundamental, foundational pillars of the Republican Party. Maybe not the Republican Party in Massachusetts, but the Republican Party that Ronald Reagan was a part of. The Republican Party that I'm familiar with. So that being said, as many of you may know, I'm a Tea Party member. But I am also a member of the Republican Party. I'm not afraid to be called a Republican. I'm not afraid to be associated with the Republican Party. I'm a full platform, no excuses necessary, loyal and proud conservative Republican.
Yes.
So that being said, we all know that the Democrats own this state. They own it. And the difference between me and Charlie Baker and the Mass GOP stems from the same fact, that this is one-party rule. The Democrats own the state. The way the Mass GOP and the candidates they have put forward address this problem is by saying this. The Democrats own the state. We can't win as Republicans. We have to run sort of like Democrats. We have to adopt some of their positions. And so what's happened recently? Scott Brown won in 2010. He was running right of center. He goes down to Washington, tries to expand his base by moving left of center. He loses his base and he loses the election. Gabriel Gomez last year, he pleads with Deval Patrick for a position, writing that crazy letter. He financially supports Barack Obama, and his leftist leanings couldn't excite 300,000 Republicans to get up off their couches and vote for him, and he lost by 120,000 votes. Just recently, the Mass GOP establishment gave out this very prestigious award. It's the Lincoln Reagan Award, and they gave it to former Governor Bill Weld. Former Governor Bill Weld not only financially supported Barack Obama, but he voted for Barack Obama, and our Mass GOP awards him for doing so. This is the state of the Mass GOP in Massachusetts. And so now comes Charlie Baker again. He's adopted many positions of Deval Patrick. He believes that health care is a right. He believes in climate change and income inequality. stricter gun control, government involvement in minimum wage. He agrees with Deval Patrick on illegal immigration. Neither one of them have taken the no new tax pledge, which, by the way, his boss, Governor Well, did, and Paul Cellucci did repeatedly, and I have done. It's a very Republican thing to do. We don't have a revenue problem here in Massachusetts. We have an enormous spending problem. We don't go about it by raising new taxes. We've had enough of new taxes. Deval Patrick, back in March of this year, called Charlie Baker his identical twin. He did that because they aligned so well on all the issues. Now, 8 years ago, when Deval Patrick first ran, he considered having Charlie as his running mate. They were going to run a bipartisan ticket. Charlie didn't agree to it. But when Deval Patrick beat Kerry Healy, Charlie Baker was on his transition team. And when I brought that up at a recent debate, he doubled down, and he said he did it because he wanted Deval Patrick to succeed. The problem is, Deval Patrick's success is our failure. Charlie doesn't get that. Charlie doesn't get that. 4 years ago when he ran, he talked about Massachusetts being in a mess. And yet when he kicked off, that's right, but when he kicked off this fall, he said Massachusetts is doing fine. We haven't gone from being a mess to being fine. We've gone from being a mess to being worse. And I am the only candidate to say that we are on the wrong track. If we keep pushing out people, businesses, and jobs, and inviting in illegal immigrants, we will soon become Detroit, and the mayors of our cities and towns are saying the exact same thing. So the approach that's taken by the Mass GOP and Charlie Baker, again, it stems from the fact that the Democrats own the state. They feel you can't run as a Republican and win. I say just the opposite. Yes, the Democrats own the state. How much do they own the state? Let's take a look at the State House for just a second. There are 40 senators. 36 out of the 40 are Democrat. There are 160 state representatives. 131 of the 160 are Democrats. This is a stranglehold. Republicans are along for the ride. What does this mean? Democrats own the state. That means they own all the problems. They can't blame Republicans for anything. For anything. If Massachusetts was doing so well, we wouldn't have a chance to win anything. Dog catcher, school committee, anything. But Massachusetts is doing horribly. Horribly. They own all the problems, but they won't own up to them. That's why I'm running. They don't own up to them. Go back to the 1960s when the Democrats first took control of both houses at Beacon Hill. We had 12 congressional seats down in Washington in the 1960s. It's allocated by...
47, brother, 1947.
Both houses, though. Both houses in the 60s.
Triple Neal was the first Democratic Speaker of the House in over 100 years.
But the Senate and the representatives in the 60s, they took over both of them. But we had 12 congressional seats back in the 60s, and it's based on the census. Again, driving out people, businesses, and jobs, the Democrats have taken our congressional representation from 12 down to 11, 11 to 10, and 10 most recently to 9. Under their influence, Massachusetts is losing influence. When Deval took office 8 years ago, there were 450,000 food stamp recipients. If their liberal policies were working well, these people should be transitioned to jobs. The number should be going down. The number's gone up, and it hasn't gone up by 5 or 10%. The number of people on food stamps has doubled. There are over 900,000 people on food stamps now in Massachusetts. This is a Democrat problem. Solely a Democrat problem. EBT cards. Even a Democrat auditor has shown there are $400 million in abuse and fraud in the EBT card system, and we've given EBT cards to over 1,000 dead people. This is a Democrat problem. All the scandals in DCF, the drug lab, the compounding pharmacy, these are Democrat problems. Illegal immigration. Forget for a moment about the unaccompanied minor problem that came up just recently. Prior to that, there were over 220,000 illegals here in Massachusetts, and $2 billion a year is taken from your wallets and your pocketbooks and rewarded to those who break the law. This is a Democrat problem. It's not enough just to complain about problems. We have to provide solutions. So what are the solutions to these problems? The food stamp issue. And by the way, when I talk about these problems, I'm talking about cleaning up the abuse in them. I've been on unemployment myself. These programs are for the needy, not for the greedy. The most heartwarming thing that's happened to me on this campaign trail happened just a few weeks ago when I went to Rosie's place. It's a shelter for homeless women in Boston. Before I could talk about illegal immigration, before I could talk about EBT card abuse and fraud and how to correct it, they asked me, or they told me, what are you going to do about illegal immigration? They're coming here, they're taking our beds, they're cutting in line, they're taking our services. And when I was answering that question, another woman said, and what about these 1,000 dead people? They're getting EBT cards. These are not right-wing, conservative, Tea Party, uncompassionate, bigoted Republican issues. These are issues that are affecting the poor and the homeless and the elderly. That was so refreshing to hear that. Okay, so how do we reform EBT cards? There was a proposed reform, putting photo ID on the card. Common sense, let's do it. But in practice, only about half the cards have photo ID. So under a Fisher administration, no exceptions, no loopholes. For hardship cases, where the EBT card recipient is either homebound or bedridden, then the caregiver's photo was on the card as well. EBT cards cannot be used, and rightly so, for the purchase of alcohol, tobacco, tattoos, pornography. However, as you well know, they can take an EBT card and go to an ATM, get out the cash, and buy those same things. So we eliminate cash withdrawals at ATMs.
I'd like to play devil's advocate for 1 moment.
Sure.
So, okay, it's one thing to say we're going to eliminate the fraud and abuse of EBT cards as an example. However, we all know necessity is the mother of invention, and con artists and finaglers will always come up with a way to scam the system. So at the end of the day, the only true way you can avoid the scams, the fraud, the abuse is to hold people accountable. Under a Fisher administration, what would you recommend, or what would you advise or advocate for as far as accountability goes to people and or government representatives who support that kind of scam?
Yeah, that's a great question. You guys know Sean O'Connell? I was talking to her, this was months ago, about the number of students in Worcester and the surrounding areas that get free or reduced lunch. It's about 75% of the student population. I know the poverty level isn't that great. When Shauna heard that, she said, Mark, I have constituents down in Taunton. They're making good incomes, 6-figure incomes, and their children are getting reduced lunch. They don't want them to get reduced lunch, but the people who run the programs feel like, let's make them dependent on the government, hand this stuff out. We have to have people who aren't just political hacks handing this stuff out. They have to be responsible. People who are government employees are guardians and stewards of our taxpayer dollars, okay? Here's what I want to do. This takes consideration of EBT cards, that type of program I just talked about, and also all those scandals with DCF, the drug lab, the compounding pharmacy scandal. Here's my solution. The people that were in charge of those big organizations, their complaint was these situations happened deep down inside and we couldn't be made aware of them and it didn't bubble up to us. Fine. My wife teaches in the Worcester Public Schools. She is a mandated reporter of child abuse, as are firefighters and police officers. Let's make all government employees at all these different agencies mandated reporters of fraud, abuse, or procedural problems that don't allow them to do their jobs. What does that do? If there's a problem, and by the way, here's a concrete example. Andy Dugan, who was at the drug lab, her co-workers knew that she couldn't be doing the amount of work she said she was. But they were afraid to say anything. Let's give them whistleblower protection. They go outside the agency, either to law enforcement or to the media. And it stops the problem in the bud, and we can correct it. It doesn't have to work its way up. So that's my solution to that. Keeping going with EBT card reform. President Clinton, a Democrat, President Clinton helped with the reform of welfare by bringing in workfare for able-bodied people. But President Obama has eliminated it. I agree with the Heritage Foundation that that's illegal. I want to bring it back. Interestingly enough, conservative Governor Martinez down in New Mexico, blue state of New Mexico, has just done that. They brought back workfare. We want to do that here in Massachusetts as well. One more thing to tackle the abuse and fraud in the EBT card system. I worked for an employer in Avon, Mass, B.E. Peterson. We were looking to hire 30 welders to start a second shift. We brought them in, we interviewed them, and we told them, listen, you have to take and pass a drug test in order to come on to work with us. Are you okay with that? And they all said yes. The problem is the first 8 guys failed the drug test. If employers have a drug test, have people come to work with them so they're not under the influence of heavy machinery and equipment, same thing with EBT cards. We don't want to be rewarding bad behavior. It's your taxpayer dollars. How about these thousands of people that are getting EBT cards, these dead people that are getting EBT cards? So in addition to a drug test, they have to pass a heartbeat test, okay? The Fisher doctrine is no pulse, no card, okay? Lastly, and we'll open up for questions, on illegal immigration. What's the solution to illegal immigration? You just listen to our mayors, the cities and towns, and they say they're becoming dysfunctional. The mayor of North Adams used the word Detroit. So we're on the verge of becoming Detroit. It's not that we're not a compassionate people. We are. But this has become a capacity problem. We are overburdened in our cities and towns. What about our homeless? What about the poor? And what about our vets? What about our vets? These guys need to be treated first. So how do we solve the problem? The bureaucratic solution would be this. Create another government bureaucracy, hire some people, hunt down the illegals, arrest them, put them in jail, and hope that the federal government would deport them. I'm not talking about that at all. Why do they come to Massachusetts? They come here for the benefits. They know they can get more benefits in Massachusetts than from all of the other New England states combined. More than Vermont, New Hampshire, Maine, Connecticut, Rhode Island combined. So we do 2 things. Ann Coulter has suggested we use E-Verify. I use E-Verify at my small business. This is a tool that employers can use for new hires. You type in a social security number and almost instantaneously you know the immigration status of that person that's across the table from you. Employers are not, it's illegal. It's illegal for employers to knowingly hire someone who's here illegally. Here's the thing though. E-Verify is only mandated in about 17 or 18 states. Massachusetts would be added to that list when I'm governor. That's what I would do there first. And then one last thing. We cut off the benefits. I've been advocating this since December. We cut off the benefits for illegal immigrants here in Massachusetts. It saves $2 billion a year. If you divide that number by all the cities and towns in Massachusetts, it's more than $5 million a year in local aid. I've been saying this thing since December. And just 3 months ago, Tea Party Governor LePage up in Maine has started doing it. It's working out fantastic. It's fantastic for Maine, but where are they coming? They're coming to Massachusetts. So we need to do the same thing in Massachusetts that LePage is doing up in Maine. Those are the issues I want to talk about tonight. Certainly we'll open up for questions and answers, but I'll leave you with this. We fought the Battle of Bunker Hill. And we lost the Battle of Bunker Hill. And we lost it because we lacked ammunition. We ran out of ammunition. We have had all these problems, all these Democrat problems for years, and we failed to win. Why? We failed because we haven't had candidates with the willingness, the resolve, or the backbone to use this ammunition and stand up to the Democrats and make them own up to the problems they've created. That's why I'm running for governor. We don't win by surrendering and adopting Democrat positions. We win by fighting against them. That's why I'm running. I want you guys to be proud to be Republicans again, be conservative again, so we can win again. Thank you very much.
Mark, it's hard to run against a guy who's Baker, who's top campaign advisor,
is Ted Kennedy's former chief of staff.
Exactly. Oh, by the way,
It's hard to run against a guy who doesn't have the courage of his conviction. It's hard to run against a guy, folks, I'm going to tell you something Mark knows about this, who plots to steal a convention, not allow a man to get his 15% when he got more than his 15%. And let me tell you, my good friend John Weston will tell you about the back problems that I have. I'm lucky I'm standing up. That on the day of the convention, I get a phone call. I'm recuperating at my sister's house. They asked me, Alex, are you in the convention hall? No, I'm at my sister's house recuperating. It's my nephew's birthday. Charlie Baker and his people in the Mass GOP forged my name that I entered that convention and said that I was ready to vote for Charlie Baker.
Do that to the New England Freedom Riders.
That's Charlie Baker, who's a liar. Who doesn't have the gumption, who doesn't have the balls, pardon my language to the women here, to apologize. And knows darn well. And this is what we're up against. We're up against liars, connivers, and thieves.
Politics.
So I want, dude, I expect very little from Charlie Baker. But I'm with you 100%. And the only reason why I'm with this guy, because he's willing to go into the inner cities and talk to people who don't look like the people that mowed Charlie Baker's lawn. Charlie Baker says, oh, I do parades in Dorchester. This guy walks the streets of Lawrence. Nothing more memorable than seeing guys that I know who serve, sons and daughters of immigrants, all Hispanics standing with them and taking the picture saying, Charlie, saying, we're with you. So I want you folks to go home and tell the liars and connivers there are that this guy wants to represent Massachusetts, not the privileged idiots.
Most people in this room know me, know I'm a fan, and know I'm a supporter, and I think by now you do as well.
Yep.
But I'm not going to pull any punches with you, okay? And I'm going to call it like it is, because at the end of the day, all I have is my friends and my integrity. So, you made a statement in your closing argument about how you would deal with the immigration issues, how you would deal with EBT and a lot of other controversial issues. But knowing that we exist in a predominantly Democrat state, if there was a Fisher administration, you'd have an army, a plethora of Democrats up against you, okay, ready to slam down and fight against anything and everything you propose. So how would a Fisher administration overcome that type of odds? What would your fighting strategy be to make that happen and actually succeed in the rhetoric that you just gave us now?
that's a great question. Again, I'm going to answer it. If people want to see, you can point people to my website. It's under governance, or it's under leadership. I can't remember which one it is. Here, it's simple. If I get elected governor, right, it's going to be common people like yourselves who elect me there. And I'm going to tell the legislature, this is the people who elected me here. I am not going to reach across the aisle and try to work with the Democrats. People say, well, that sounds too harsh. Ronald Reagan said in his autobiography, the worst thing he ever did, okay, he's attributed with one of the biggest tax increases ever in the country. But here's the full story. He was promised $3 in spending cuts for every $1 in tax increases, and he never got 1 penny in spending cuts. This is what happens when you reach across the aisle. There's many other examples as well. But okay, if I'm not going to reach across the aisle, how do I work with these people, right? So this is what I'm going to say. I'm going to bring your concerns, your issues up to Beacon Hill. We'll propose legislation. If the Democrats want to work with you guys, as opposed to working against you with the tech tax and the gas tax, then by definition, we will work together. But if they choose to work against you, and this is where it's different from other Republican governors in the past in Massachusetts, I'm not afraid of those Democrats. I'm not trying to be like the Democrats. We propose legislation that benefits you guys, and they choose to vote against it. I'm going to call them out by name. I'm going to say, here's the legislation, here are the representatives, here are the senators that voted against it. I'm going to call them out, I'm going to point them out, so you guys can vote them out. So you guys can vote them out. Bobby.
Mark, everybody, this is once in a lifetime that we have somebody who is here for all the people, who is here to do what is right. When I heard about Mark and what the GOP did to him, and I was watching everything about him at the time, I said, Peter, my husband, I said, this is the person we've got to get into office. So once in a lifetime we have with a person like this, remember, September 9th, vote. Get your friends out there. Call them. Have them call 3 people. Get them out to vote. He's not going to get anywhere unless he gets that vote. The primary is very, very important. So let's get that vote out for him. And remember now, and tell your friends this, September 10th is for the Democrats. So vote for them.
So, Bobby, you forgot your pom-poms. You just got my new chair.
Do you have, at this point in time, any data on polling or any of the, what your opponent's doing versus what you're doing? You have any kind of idea where you stand at this point?
Yeah, we do. We're going to run a real good poll over this coming weekend. But after the last debate that we had at the Boston Globe, I went down and met with their editorial board, and they asked me the same question, and it was a long, drawn-out question, and I kept smiling all the way through with it. And they asked me, do you have any poll data? And I said, yeah, it's your poll, the poll that you guys ran about 2 months ago, that showed that there are 14% of the state of Massachusetts considers themselves Tea Party members. The sad thing is, Republican membership has been going down, 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 and down. They ran a poll just within last week, 10%. There's more of us Tea Party members than there are of the Republicans. So if I can just turn them out, we win. A few other things that we know, we've been running a poll, maybe you guys have heard the poll, is a push poll, wanting to know if you agree with Charlie Baker on illegal immigration or if you agree with Mark Fisher on illegal immigration. It's been running 2-to-1 in our favor. 2-to-1 in our favor.
Good.
Last thing, there's a poll out, we were talking about on Howie Carr last night, if anybody caught the program. There's a poll out there that says I'm being swamped. And Howie made a great point. They are polling people who have voted in the last 3 or 4 primaries. But like I said, in that last election with Gomez, 300,000 Republicans sat out. The expectation for this primary is 200,000, maybe less. There are more people sitting on their couches than voting in Massachusetts because of the candidates that put up. So if you're just polling people who voted, I'm going after the folks who haven't been voting, and we'll find out the real numbers this weekend. So.
I had a question. Yeah. You were talking about making mandated reporters for corruption. I'm not a fan of executive orders being used as legislation, but where is that would only affect the executive branch and would be the right thing to do. Will you do that through an executive order instead of trying to reach out to the legislature?
Well, I think that will probably have to be done if it takes care of all government employees through a bill, what we would propose. And again, if they don't want to work with that, what I said before, we're going to point them out, call them out, see if we voted out. I'm going to push for that and say, if this doesn't happen, you're going to repeat these scandals in DCF. You're going to repeat these scandals in the compounding pharmacy and the drug lab. By the way, you guys are probably big Second Amendment people.
Yes, we are.
Yes, we are.
So here's what I've said. All that time that the legislature and the governor spent on those crazy bills, right? The problem is government incompetence, and again, go back to DCF, the drug lab scandal, the compounding pharmacy scandal. It was government incompetence that was responsible for more injuries and more deaths than any law-abiding gun owner ever has been or ever will have. They should be spending their time focusing on those things, not on targeting law-abiding gun owners. And so this is what I would say. You guys pass this mandated reporting thing, or else you're going to end up with the same problems through government incompetence again. This should be a no-brainer. And if they don't support it, again, we'll make it public. Repeatedly. Call them out. If they don't come around, they have to be voted out.
But will you be willing to use executive orders where you can?
Yeah, I don't want to be Obama with a pen, right? There are some things. I mean, we have 3 branches of government. We have divided powers. It's a great thing. There are some things I can do with executive order. One is Common Core. Deval Patrick brought it in. With an executive order, I can get rid of it. you're not electing the king, right? Rightly
Legislation, as long as
Right.
it just affects the
That's
right
right.
of the executive branch.
so. That's right. That's right.
Have state troopers reporting illegal immigrants like you do in democratically controlled Rhode Island.
Oh, by the way, so there are sanctuary cities where the mayors have said to local law officials, don't uphold the law. This is ridiculous. I said back in January, I don't know as governor if I can do this, but I would do it as much as I can to eliminate local aid to those half a dozen or so sanctuary cities in Massachusetts that tell law officers to stand down. No, we can't reward bad behavior.
We met at the Immigrant Forum, and I just want to start by saying I was very impressed by the way you comported yourself there. Talk about enemy territory, and you didn't get a single jeer, a single boo. I think you made a great case, and I thought you did so great. We talked afterwards. I explained I'm a Rand Paul Republican, more of a civil libertarian type of Republican, and I talked to you about the NDAA, the National Defense Authorization Act, where the federal government now claims the power to indefinitely detain even U.S. citizens if they accuse you of certain crimes. So I talked to Martha Coakley after I talked to you. I got her to say that if she's governor, she will uphold the Fifth Amendment and make sure nobody in Massachusetts is taken by the federal government without due process, without the right to a trial, without the right to counsel. Will you make the same promise, Mark?
I'll make the same commitment. I hope she knew what she was talking about, or not just blowing you up. Yeah. By the way, so what he's mentioning, we had an immigration rally or symposium. Most of the candidates, all of the candidates were there except for Charlie Baker. All the Democrats were there, all the independents were there, and that was enemy territory. I said illegal immigration is illegal, and all through the questioning. But like you said, it wasn't booed, except when I got up to walk up, and it was this big amphitheater classroom at Bunker Hill. Someone yelled out, no one is illegal, no one is illegal. I was walking up the stairs, and someone started following me, and it was this gentleman here, and I thought to myself, oh my goodness, is he going to take a swing at me here? But I ended up getting a vote from it.
I was very impressed with you, and my first words were to you, you've given me something to vote for.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, no one's asking yet, so I'm retired Army, retired over 20 years ago, and I just wanted to comment that I've been in the VA system here in Mass for over 20 years, and I think we have one of the best in the country. I know some of the younger guys are having some problems, but I was wondering what you've come up with any ideas on the VA system, improving it?
Absolutely. Again.
Oh, one comment. I was watching news before I left, and Coakley, they were showing the numbers, and she's like 50-something% on her party, so that's probably who you're going to be running against.
Oh, I agree with that. I think Martha's going to win.
But anyway, the VA. Back in the 90s, when I retired, early 90s, that we lost our dental. We lost the things that just been going downhill, and that freaking Delta Dental came in. And I do like TRICARE, which has been pretty good since I'm retired. But I know the younger guys have only been in 5, 6, 8, whatever years, are trying to get through it, and they're the ones that are having problems.
Right.
So how can we bring the younger guys that have all these problems up?
Well, if you renounce your citizenship and become an illegal alien, you'll be doing this for No, of course. So, again, once you go to my website, on the issues tab, there's a place to click for veterans, and there I say this. Who better to serve in government positions in the state than those who have served our country? So in practice, what does this mean? If there's any opening, government position, veterans get to go to the top of the line.
We get the preferential treatment, but I mean the VA, especially the hospital, the medical, the dental, all those benefits. It seems to be the backlogs and all that they were complaining to.
That was going to be my
But the state still has say, because I've been going to Bedford, and it's a great facility, and but still the state does have say on a lot of the things.
Yeah. And I'll be honest with you, I have to plead ignorance. I don't know where the state part kicks in, where the federal part kicks in, but
I think it sets a chicken by.
But anyway, it's something to think about. It will help you a lot.
Yeah, thanks for the question. I'll have to get back to you on doing some research on where that divide is between state and federal.
Mark, I'd like to ask you a quick question.
Yeah.
A lot of us are involved with it. What's your take on Article 5?
Remind me.
Convention of States, yeah.
Oh my goodness, yeah, all for it, all for it.
Okay.
Yeah, Mark Levin, what he's trying to do, and
Yep.
yeah, 100%.
Okay, great.
You know, it's a funny thing. I remember the Tea Party. A couple things have happened recently. People have asked me to describe the Tea Party. I think the Tea Party can be described in a number of different ways, but when our elected officials or people in power, the establishment, doesn't represent us the way we're supposed to be or doesn't look out for our interests, the Tea Party takes action. Whether it be the establishment down in Washington or with a political party, in my case the Mass GOP, or this market basket example with these employees, I don't think we can overestimate what happened there. I mean, these people were threatened with losing their jobs. They were given a deadline, go back to work or else. Their mortgages were on the line, their homes were on the line, their financing for their education, and they stood together. That's the, I don't know if they call themselves Tea Party members, it's that spirit. And the same thing with Convention of States. Why are we doing this? If our government was working the way it should, the three branches, I don't think we'd be talking about Convention of the States. But it's not, it's broken. And this is the same spirit coming together and, okay, you're not going to do it, we'll do something. Convention of the States.
Very good.
Can I ask a strategic question?
Yeah.
And this is not so much about, what's the specific answer, but on the immigration issue, okay, it's an emotional issue. A lot of rhetoric can be said on both sides about where people stand, because there is the concept of wanting to be, we're a nation of immigrants. My parents came to Ellis Island. My sister came to Ellis Island. So you get to the point where it's like, okay, we have, whether it be kids, and the current influx of kids coming across the border right now, that whole thing is a charade and a scam. I get that. But just general illegal immigration from people around the world, whether they're from Africa, Asia, wherever, okay? How would you balance that sort of compassionate perception versus the reality of state law, of legislative, of action? You getting my point where I'm going with this?
Yeah. Some of it's federal, like you said before, but in the state we can do some things. And we go back to that forum at Bunker Hill. I told the crowd, listen, we have different views about immigration, but I think we all have to agree on two things before we can come to any consensus on this. Is legal immigration, like you talk about your folks coming here, my grandparents came here, is legal immigration the same thing as illegal immigration? I say no.
Yeah, I agree.
There's a big difference. I have 2 employees, I only have 8 employees. 2 of them have the green cards. They've come here the right way. They stood in line, waited their turn, played by the rules. A fellow from Brazil, Wanderson, told me he just passed his citizenship test, and he's waiting to hear where he goes to take the oath. I mean, to treat illegals in the same way that he's been treated, it's a slap in his face. So that's the first thing. And the second thing is, I don't know the answer to this number, but there is a capacity for legal immigrants to come into this country. We can't, like I said at the rally, we can't save the world, right? We set the world an example. The world likes what it sees. It has 2 choices. It can stand in line to come here and wait their turn, or it can fight the fight that we fought in their own country against their cruel masters. Those are the only 2 paths they have. And there's a capacity issue. And we're over capacity now in Massachusetts. It's not a compassion issue any longer. We've been compassionate. $2 billion a year in the state of Massachusetts alone.
And I agree that we truly are compassionate. I think this is the most compassionate nation on the planet ever, and ever was in the history of mankind. And I'm fully on board with that. The question is the perception issue. Because we continuously, I'll use my own. I'm in an interracial marriage. I have 4 kids that are half black, half white. Okay? I come from an immigrant family. My father was amazing. He gave me third-grade education at best. Okay, my mother didn't get my schooling either. Okay, and she took care of 3 kids, and she made her way. And everybody worked hard in my family. And nobody took a hand. And my father went on. He took at the time, back in the 70s, they used to call it the fine. I forgot what they called it. There was a name for it. But they paid that back to every dime when they bought it. But my point is this: how, and this is, I guess, more of a personal view rather than this a gubernatorial issue, but how do conservatives, and I guess I'm asking your opinion on this, how do conservatives in general push back on that perception that we're these white, power, corporate, big money, big corporate, heartless motherfuckers, part of my language, everybody in the room, that has no compassion for anybody? Because I think that's a bunch of bullshit.
Yeah, Very easy, Carmelo. So whoever would say this, I take them by the hand, I bring them to Rosie's place, I make them face the 150 women and have them answer, what are you going to do with these illegal immigrants that are coming here, stealing our beds, cutting in line, and taking our services? Let's be compassionate for the people that are here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a comment to that. If you didn't know me, you would think I'm a white American or whatever. But I'm actually Latin-based. I'm Romanian. I came here as a legal immigrant in 1977 with 11 of my siblings. We waited in Austria until we got proper paperwork, proper private sponsorship, and everything else like that, as your grandfather did. That's what this country is about. So as far as the perception, I think we've taken too much of what is the perception when we have been slapped in the face too long. Yes, we have compassion, and we're going to be nice to the people that come here legally. That's it. But my question to you is, I think what you're doing for the state of Massachusetts is amazing. You know, guys, that's not a politician running, but I think there's a bigger picture for someone like you running for governor of the state. It's a national issue. Scott Walker, now you. Now, from what I see, you getting elected will set a fire in this nation. How do you feel with that bigger responsibility than just the governor?
Let Scott Walker deal with that. I mean, I haven't read his book yet, but the title of his new book is Unintimidated, Fearless. I mean, it's what the Market Basket people did. Let Scott Walker deal with that. I mean, hopefully he'll run for president. We all have a chance to vote for him, but I'm just worried about Massachusetts for now.
Fair enough.
Jean first.
I just really want to say I am so proud that you have the faith and the courage you have in today's world, and especially in this pro-abortion state of Massachusetts, to stand up and make no qualms about being a pro-life Republican. Okay, it's not something. I know you write about your faith and your beliefs in life. So it's not one of these issues. But Mark, I really, from the bottom of my heart, appreciate that I can vote for a man that says, you know what, it's wrong to kill a baby. It's wrong. Now, I don't know what you can do when you become governor, but I hope and pray that you can find a way to back off that new buffer zone law or whatever it is. And, I just thank you for your convictions, because everybody else is either totally pro-abortion or they're, well, personally, I'm against it, but I have to say, women have the right to do whatever they want. And I just thank you for having the convictions that you have about life. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Again, you're not electing a king, so what could the governor do on this issue or something? And this is what I've said. I want to be an advocate to have a discussion where, in a non-hostile environment, both sides can have a fair say. I really think that this issue and other social issues need to be worked out in our culture and not have the government, either through the judiciary or the legislature or the executive branch, impose things on people. I don't mind if we come to some consensus and we pass a second constitutional amendment to sort of confirm what we agree upon in the culture. I'm all for that. But the types of discussion I'm talking about, really quick, was at the Perkins School for the Blind. There was a disabled audience there, and I was talking to them about issues that affect the disabled community. And all the other candidates, the Democrats and Charlie, believe that health care is a right. So I started talking about this issue of fetal surgery. 3 hospitals, only 3 in the country do this, where they're actually operating on unborn children, heart valve conditions, a spina bifida. It's an amazing thing. And so what I said is I challenged them. If you guys think that health care is a right, how is it that these unborn children are benefiting from health care if they didn't already enjoy a pre-existing right to life. I said, follow the logic of your own belief that health care is a right and you end up being pro-life like me. These are the types of discussions, and maybe you don't agree with that, but these are the type of discussions that I think a governor can foster, maybe on college campuses and things like this, and have women like yourself talk with other women, and I step out of the way. But I think that's the kind of discussion we have to have, some consensus in the culture.
I just want to throw this out. On the station that I'm on, it's a 50,000 watt station, and there are probably 5 people that call during the morning drive who I would call extremely liberal. One of the guys I know really well. I'd probably rank him about 3rd of the 5. He called in the other morning, and you know what he said? He said, you know, I maybe don't agree with Mark Fisher on a lot of social issues. He said, but I admire him for taking a stand and sticking to his convictions. And he said he's the only candidate of any party or of the independents that has not changed his tune from the time he announced till today. And when he talks to every group, he has the same message. And he finished by saying, that's the kind of person I can vote for. And if that doesn't resonate, I mean, that's what we really have to think about here. We have to get out and motivate people. Because you know what? Look, 60–70% of the time, if we can agree on the vast majority of things, then we need to lock arms and go forward. We can work out the other stuff. And it's like a good friend of mine who ran for Congress, Tommy Weaver. Tommy said, look, there's a lot of things broken in this country. And if we don't fix it, we're not going to be able to, the social act, the whole thing won't matter because there won't be a country. So that's what we have to look at.
The Mass GOP is pushing a loser strategy to begin with.
Really is.
And the fact of the matter is why would we settle for a rhino candidate that we don't believe in, that doesn't have or promote the courage of his own political conviction, okay? And then inevitably he's only going to toe some moderate party line that's not conservative, and inevitably screw us over. And then we voted for that guy. If we're going to get screwed over, we might as well just get screwed over by the Democrat and go that way and be done with it, right? At least it's an honest screw over.
Mark, interesting point is that on Facebook and other chat rooms and publicly, is that Baker's people, if you ask them, hey, if you win, and I think you're going to win, will they back you? They're like, no, he has no chance whatsoever. But yet, all of us here, maybe all of us here, because I doubt it, we would say, no, we'll be loyalists. Me, nah, I'm sick and tired of voting for rhinos. What do you say to them? Because obviously, for years we supported their losing candidates, but yet they won't support one of ours.
Yeah, that came up on the Cooner show. It comes up all the time. You know, Mark, are you going to support the? Who are you going to support in the general? And I've always said I'm going to support the Republican in the general. It's getting harder and harder every time Charlie opens his mouth because he's going further and further to becoming a Democrat. But that's what I've said, and then I respond by saying, okay, will you guys please ask Charlie if he's going to support me, or am I too conservative or too much of a Republican for him to support? I haven't heard that answer yet.
I just out of curiosity, I'm the one that called Jeff Cooner today and asked him about who would he vote for, but I had to hang up because I had a
Oh, thank you for that. So two guys called. You and someone else called and pressed him on that issue.
I didn't get to hear the answer. What was his answer?
So he said he's not a citizen. He's going through the naturalization process, so he can't vote. That sort of gets him off the hook. But he did say this. He said, listen, I'm a conservative. Charlie's a wishy-washy rhino. You draw your own conclusions. That's what. And Cooksey, I guess, went on last Thursday or Friday, who was a big Baker supporter from way back when, and said he's going to be voting for me in the primary. Did you hear the story about Cooksey and Cooner yesterday about coming in and the flat tire and how he broke a finger and all this stuff? So Cooksey's changing the Cooner's flat tire, and he's just about to put the tire on, and Cooner takes the flat and throws it into the trunk. And the car falls off the jack and pins Cooksey's fingers. He broke a finger, and all the other ones are black and blue. So when I left today, I left Jeff with 2 bumper stickers. One because Cooksey said he would be supporting me, so that's for his bumper. And I said the other one is for the bandage around his fingers.
You talked about mandated reporters, all right? could you add to your list CERTS, which is Community Emergency Response Team? There's a lot of us out there, and we can be really watching a lot of things.
Yeah, we do watch.
Add that to your list.
Sounds like a common sense thing.
Yeah. Thank you.
Mark, if I can throw out a couple ideas that I'd like to, from some of the comments that might prompt a few more questions. First off, I have a couple questions for the group. You all know what unfunded liabilities are? Okay, if you don't, you need to. Do you know how much the city of Worcester, and I'm using Worcester as an example because it's the second largest city in New England, and so it's true in every city in town, but do you have any idea what the unfunded liabilities for pensions and health care, just pensions and health care, not the real estate obligations, just pensions and health care in the city of Worcester is? Take a guess. I'll buy you a drink if you get the number. You're not, that's chump change.
1.2
Chump
bill.
change.
1.2 bill.
He's been with me. 1.1 plus billion dollars to the city of Worcester. Just in the city of Worcester.
I need to become a Democrat because this could
There you go. Now, if that isn't time for a change, when you think about that, first of all, their tax rate is upside down. They can't keep businesses. How are they going to attract businesses when they've got to raise $1.1 billion? Now, can you imagine being a city employee at 50, 55 years old? I'll tell you what, if I worked for the city of Worcester, I'd be real nervous. Okay? Now, another thing is, I just want to ask you a question. In our state legislature, do you think there's any actual members of the Communist Party?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very good. Can you name one?
Chang Diaz.
Right, Elizabeth Chang Diaz. Okay? What I want you to do, and because Mark brought this up, and I think this is a very valid point about voting people out, this scorecard right here from the Mass Fiscal Alliance is a tremendous tool. It rates every person in the House and everybody in the Senate. It rates them on 3 questions, and then it rates on their voting record, meaning that they support taxes and, you know, increase in fees, and et cetera, et cetera. Now, just want to tell you that out of a possible score, which would align with our thinking, of 100, the average score in the Senate is 30. Okay? The only reason that it's that high is because there's 3 Republicans that are at 100 out of the 4, and there are 2 or 3 Democrats that are in the 80s. Okay? Because when you really look at it, the basic score is about 9 when you go down this list. Okay? Now let's go to the House of Representatives. Again, and by the way, I'll tell you what the 3 main questions, and then you can, obviously, the voting record I can't get into. The average score for the House of Representatives is 27. The low is a 2. Think about that. Now, here's the question. We don't have a revenue problem in this state. We have a spending problem.
Can you repeat that, please?
Okay? 24-hour review time before you have to vote on a bill. Yes or no? And then...
John, those are proposals?
So could you repeat that first? Could you repeat that first one? I had a cycle.
Okay.
Sorry.
In the House, actually in the Senate, this is the number 1 question was the same. Did they vote for the $500 million tax increase? Okay, yes or no? All right. By the way,
this in with Mark tonight, John?
What's that?
Can you tie this in with Mark tonight?
Well, my whole point is, Mark is saying that we need to change out, and we're asking what the governor can do. My whole point to you is you need to look at this list so that not only do you need to vote for this guy, you need to vote these people out. That's the whole point.
Massfiscal.com, right? Or
Right.
.org?
Mass Fiscal, yeah, it's .org, I think. Yep, and it's just, if you just go on and type in Mass Fiscal Scorecard, it comes right up. Now the second question is 24-hour review time for bills. What is that? Can you imagine being a state legislature and not reading a bill before you vote on it? Does anybody have the lack of morals that you would do that? I don't. I'm certainly right. I can tell you. Yeah, right. I can tell you and how many times I've personally seen, because I've been at Beacon Hill a lot, somebody runs in at the last minute, the first thing out of their mouth is how the speaker vote, how the president of the Senate vote. And they just don't even know what they're voting on. That's what they vote.
Exactly.
Okay? So all this was was a 24-hour period that they were supposed to put into the rules that they have to have 24 hours from the time something leaves committee till it comes to the floor for a vote, so at least you have time to read it. Nope. Okay. The other question, which was pretty interesting in the Senate, and by the way, it never even made it to the House, was would you support a study to see how much Obamacare impacts the Commonwealth of Massachusetts financially? Of course, it got shot down, never even got out of committee, so it never even made it to the Senate. So please think about these things, look at this. I think you'll really be amazed.
Is that the same place you can go and look and see how our local politicians have voted? There's a website for that.
No, that's completely separate, and that gets different, more and more difficult all the time to go through because they're playing more and more voice votes. And that's the other thing that there was a proposal in the House to make public the votes in committee and how they voted. Naturally, that got shot down.
Well, I had it somewhere. There was a .org or .something that somebody put up, and they had actually, over the past year, how all of our Massachusetts politicians have voted.
Are you on corevalues.org, Mark? Have you been rated by those folks?
You know the answer to it. You know the answer to that.
I'm trying to help you.
So what Chuck is talking about, this is a website that rates candidates and different questions. They give them a green, a yellow, I think a red, sort of like a traffic light score. And I think I'm green across the issues. Chuck, yeah.
So I have a question for you. What is it that you, Mark Fisher, as a candidate for the governor of the state of Massachusetts, need from us? Because when you look at this room right now, you're not appealing to the people in this room. You're appealing to what we're going to do to convince other people to come out for you. So what is it? What do you need from us to help you defeat Charlie Big? And then we'll worry about Martha later. But let's get past Charlie first.
Money.
So there's a short period of time. If we win the primary, that certainly money. Between now and the primary, we've got enough to do what we want to do. But it's letting other people know, and I'll leave that up to your imaginations. You guys know how to use social media and talk to your neighbors. Yeah, exactly. And there's lawn signs in the back, there's bumper stickers in the back. That's the normal standard way to do it. Talk to your friends.
So the stand to get the word out.
Yeah, email your friends and tweet your friends. Yeah, exactly.
Could I elaborate on that?
Sure.
One of the keys that a candidate like Mark needs is, because he is an unknown, he has to actually borrow the credibility and the honor of every single person in this room. He needs you to lend him your credibility and your honesty amongst all the people you know, and to motivate them to tell someone. Scott Brown was, even by his own accounts, was going to lose 2 weeks before the election. And as having gone out and knocked doors myself, talking to people, I saw a change in attitude. I saw more people talking, and they were talking in a very positive, very favorable spirit. And it just caught fire. It just ignited. And that's what Mark Fisher needs from each one of us. He needs us to use our credibility that we have with all the people we know to get them inspired to do the same. That's how change occurs.
Talk to your neighbor.
Next comment on your answer. I have one of these on each side of my toolbox. And today alone, I had one of my friends at work. He's big Second Amendment. He said, "Oh, today I voted." So what do you mean? He says, "I'm going to be out of town, so I'm voting for Mark Fisher September 9th." Because he saw my bumper sticker. Another friend of mine, another coworker says, "So why should I vote for Mark Fisher?" So I told him about illegal immigration. I tell him about this, and he lives in Taunton. Then I says, he's against Common Core. He's got my vote. We need conversation starters. That's what we need to do.
Okay, so everybody here, how many of you are going to go home and call 3 people and tell them about Mark? Come on, raise your hands, let's see it. Let's do it. 3, come on. Let's do it. All right.
I thought it was joking about the pom-poms.
No, they call 3.
Right, it's just like the Fabergé commercial years ago, and so on and so on and so on. That's exactly what we have to reproduce
Exactly.
here.
This is the third time I met Mark. It's the first time he's gone into his pocket and give me a freaking sticker to put on my car.
I haven't had a sticker on my vehicle since Reagan, so this is the first time I've had one.
I put one in my hat. Just vote on an issue so we see what's in it.
I like that.
Mark, I just wanted to ask you about Tuesday. You know, I'm willing to take and give up a day's pay to work for you. Okay? Where do I go? Where do you need me? Do I, you know, like, what's going on for Tuesday?
So you live in Worcester, correct?
Yeah.
So
Holding Worcester line.
So we're going to identify. Here's the thing: we've got strong areas where we need to have people out with standout signs, which we have. I don't think we're going to cover all the polling places in Worcester, but there are areas where we're strong. I don't know if you're available to go down to like the South Shore, or something near to Worcester, where we expect a good turnout for Tea Party and conservative people. Give us a call. I know you very well, Gene. So we've got the signs on the poles in Elm Street, and let us know, and we'll get you something.
You know, that's a good point in the South Shore. Where do you, I mean, where do you need support around there? Right down Middleborough.
So again, on the website for campaign materials, there's a list of I think 25 different distributors in the Taunton area or Westport or Dartmouth and things like that. They've got lawn signs and other things, and they'll be the coordinators for standouts at polling places on Tuesday.
So Mark, some interesting feedback from the world of social media in Massachusetts.
Yeah.
A lot of us here are very active. Some of the feedback I've personally received is, why isn't Mark coming into the city or into the urban areas and go this place, that place? I hear that a lot. I've tried to respond. I'm not sure if I'm in tune with the campaign message in my response. I've been saying I'm not sure that those are traditionally Republican runoff areas. So why bother at this point?
No. It's like what Alex said. You know, I was up in Lawrence and in the inner cities. Here's the thing: there are a lot of minorities there that don't vote Republican, and they've told me this because you guys don't come here.
Yeah.
They vote for the Democrat, who they may not agree with on the issues, but the Democrats there shaking their hands. They put their website into their language. They're making the push in the inner city, and Republicans have just ridden them off. I've been in Lawrence. I need to be there more. Should have been there more often in other places as well. But again, my schedule is public.
We got Oscar working on it. I'm working
Oh, good.
on it.
Oh, thank you. My schedule is public on the website under events. Today was 3 places. I'll be at 4. You know, you can't be everywhere at the same time. And even my hometown in Westfield, I've been out there a few times. They want me out there more. It's I don't believe in human cloning, but maybe make an exception. Oh, one guy in the back.
Yeah, how you doing? I'm a new guy. First time in here. Everybody here who's kind of introduced me to all this. So I'm really concerned about veteran issues, and I really like. You know, I'm from Rhode Island. I've talked to my candidates there. They have not provided me with very confident answers, but I really like your plan for hiring veterans.
Thank you.
So, you know, giving preference to them. Really, that's all I have to say. Is that I really like that. I really like that. That plan.
By the way, to hold a sign, you don't have to be from Massachusetts. I just thought I'd mention that.
It also goes for the older veterans.
We got enough work to do with those left eyes down there.
On the website under veterans, I've had to hire people, and there are these in-the-door skills that seem to be lacking with people who are showing up to look for work. And that's this. Can you show up on time every day? Right? Do we have to surgically remove your phone from your hand? And are you going to be a reliable employee and do a good job? This is what veterans bring. This is what veterans bring. I mean, and I outlined that on the website. I mean, these are in-the-door skills. There aren't a lot of rocket science jobs in the government. There's a lot of on-the-job training that any veteran can accommodate to. So. Great, guys. If there's any other questions, I'll be here to shake hands and talk. And thank you for doing this.
I just want on behalf of the New Freedom Riders, I really want to thank you, Mark, for taking this time to give us the opportunity to get to know you and know what you're about, what your message is, and what your platform is. Today was a great day for us to have you here, but today was also a sad day for the New England Freedom Riders, as we lost one of our founding members today. And we only found out about it about 2.5 hours before this event. Now this individual, his name was Rich McGaw. He was very excited that he was planning on being here tonight. He was very excited on meeting you. He was a big fan and a big supporter, and that's one less vote for Mark Fisher. That's one big
That's
gaping
okay,
hole.
anybody know he's dead yet? I mean, you know, it happens all the time in this state, so.
But that's one big gaping hole in the heart of the New England Freedom Riders, and a great loss to patriotism around the world. So on behalf of everyone in this room that is a New England Freedom Riders, remember, I would just like to say thank you to Mark Fisher, and I'm saying thank you to Mark Fisher on behalf of Mr. Rich McGaw, who is an original New England Freedom Rider. My heart is with Rich tonight. Mark, thank you again. Close it up. I'm sorry? We absolutely can. We just had a suggestion before we close out and let Mark meander the floor. Go ahead. So we'll get to that. Go ahead, Tom.
Mr. McGaw, United States Navy.
Oh yes. I mean, Rich McGaw was also United States Veteran of the U.S. Navy. And on top of that, I actually met Mr. Rich McGaw in person exactly 1 year today, in person, and I lost him exactly 1 year after I met him. So for me personally, it's a big loss. And I know Rich would have wanted me to be here, and that's why it's important to be here. So with that said, we would like to close with a pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America. So would everybody stand up and join with me? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you everyone for coming. Have a great evening.